CSIR Dr. Alok Dhawan. Today's eminent speaker, Dr. Helen Payne, Dr. Rajesh Parisar and Ajit Sarva from RSC. On behalf of Director CSIR NIST and the entire SRTP team, I would like to welcome you all to today's Eminent Scientist Lecture session. I am indeed honored to welcome today's eminent speaker, Dr. Helen Payne, Acting CEO of Royal Society of Chemistry, who will be speaking on the topic A Career in Leadership. Thank you so much, Dr. Helen, for giving us your valuable time. Before beginning the presentation, I would like to request our director, Dr. G. Narahari Sastry, to say about CSIR SRTP. Thank you, and over to you, sir.
Thank you very much, Dr. Swapnali. I request Professor Alok Dhawan, Director IITR, to say a few words about this summer research training program, which CSIR is doing for the last couple of months.
Thanks very much, Dr. Shastri, and let me first welcome our eminent speaker today, Dr. Helen Payne. Welcome to you, ma'am, for this program. I think it's a very unique program that not only CSIR, but I think globally we are conducting to engage our youth, especially the students from science background in the area of various areas of science, but by and large pursuing their master's program. And there are also several mentors of these students who are registered. So the Science Academies of India actually get together every year and they advertise this program and give internships to students and to teachers, and they can go to the institute of their choice and they can spend almost 8 to 10 weeks with the mentors. But this time, because of this pandemic, it was almost impossible for the movement. So CSIR took this challenge, and under the able leadership of Dr. Shastri, Director NIST, they actually advertised this program online, and within a span of about a week, we got something like 16,000 applications from students and mentors, and they were then essentially, we sorted them out and sort of looked at how we could engage them with various institutions and their mentors. And in that program, we also ensured that they should get a feel of different sort of sciences. Right? And so in that perspective, we have organized this session called Eminent Speaker Program, or an eminent scientist speaks every day, and maybe a couple of scientists speak in a day. And so that gives a flavor of different streams of science to the students, and they can perhaps look at problems with varied angles as well. So I think this program has become quite a hit in this country, and not only that, I would also on behalf of CSIR would appreciate the Royal Society of Chemistry being partnering this program. And we are very honored indeed that as part of the Royal Society, you yourself have taken out time to be with us and share your experiences with our students. So thank you very much, and over to you, Shastri.
Thank you very much. When we want to do good things, all good people come together. And we were sort of bold enough to start this program, and with the help of Dr. Rajesh, very strongly supporting that the Royal Society is an organization which will try to always be with us in doing good things. We are very, very happy to have their support to go ahead and conducting this summer research training program. And today we have Dr. Helen Payne, and who talks about a career in leadership. I think leadership is something which can not be thrusted by you, by somebody else. You have to take the lead in becoming a leader. And sometimes when the situation is very, very challenging and tough, the true leader will come out of you, and in times of natural disasters, in terms of war, or in terms of a pandemic like this, it's extremely important to find out a leader within you and then take it forward. And in that regard, I really appreciate Helen for taking an excellent topic on a career in leadership. And she has shown in her own life that she is really wanted to be a leader in popularizing science and then playing a very important role in Royal Society. She had a degree and PhD in chemistry before she joined the Royal Society of Chemistry, and she was a chartered chemist and a chartered scientist at the Royal Society of Chemistry, and she has led many of the strategic functions, becoming the deputy CEO about 5 years before. Helen is a champion for the profession and has commissioned bold campaigns such as breaking the barriers and the work towards supporting the technicians. And in 2018, Dr. Payne has appointed as chair of the Science Council, a UK organization for the advancement of science and profession. She took up the role of acting CEO of Royal Society in January 2020, and I really appreciate all the support that we had, Dr. Rajesh Parishwad, Dr. Ajit Sharma, and all of you, and I could see Dr. Aparna also, and on behalf of all the participants, and the CSIR SRTP has become sort of global, and these lectures are available for people to watch anytime in any region, and Royal Society's support will be of great importance to internationalize our efforts to do something in the times of pandemic. With this, I once again thank Dr. Helen Payne for accepting our request, and now it is for you to go ahead. Helen, please.
Thank you so very, very much. What a fantastic welcome. And can I just say thank you very much to the CSIR for organising this event. It has been quite extraordinary how quickly you have managed to pull together such an important programme. And I'm truly amazed by the number of individuals that we're hoping to reach through this programme, and especially those that are on the call or joining us on YouTube or all the other channels that we've all become so much more kind of used to using in recent weeks. I'm going to share with you my screen so that I can begin my presentation. And I'd be very happy afterwards to be able to take any questions from you that you wish to put to me. So if I could just share my screen. And hopefully you'll all be able to see my slides. So as the introduction said, my presentation is really about a career in leadership. I do have a background in chemistry, as has just been highlighted to you. I did my degree and PhD in chemistry, and first and foremost, I think of myself as a chemist and very much connected to the community. But I did want to talk to you about leadership because my career has taken a leadership route, both in terms of the work that I do every day, but also how I work with the Royal Society of Chemistry to ensure that the RSC itself is a leader in science. And I also just wanted to say that no scientific career is achieved in isolation. Leadership is also about teamwork, and we know that in order to achieve true science and really to aspire to be a leadership, then we also need diverse teams, and diverse teams are very important. And I think has been evidenced across business and across education that teamwork really does improve the performance of all organisations. So first, before I start, I just also want to say welcome. I'm sitting here in my office in Cambridge, in the UK. I would have been delighted to actually have joined you in person, and hopefully when travel and meeting face-to-face becomes possible again, I very much look forward to travelling to India. I've spent the last 26 years doing a lot of international travel, and I realised that in the last 6 months not being able to travel has had a real impact, I think, on the way that we've all operated and with the way that we all connect with each other. And we know the science is really about kind of collaboration and connecting. So just going into my presentation, I'm going to start by just talking to you a little bit about the Royal Society of Chemistry, just to set some context. I actually became acting CEO of the RSC back in January, which was coincided with when COVID started to affect all of our lives, especially our colleagues who work in China. But the work of the RSC continues, whether we are going through a global crisis or whether we are benefiting from an upturn in the economy, or whether we're being faced by a new challenge in science. The RSC is very much about connecting the world of science to advance chemical knowledge for a better future. And I have been involved in the RSC for many years, and I have been involved in setting our strategies over very many years. And leadership is about setting strategy. It's not just about leading people, it's also about the strategy of an organization. And our current strategy very much focuses on our role as a professional body, as a provider of knowledge, and the interconnectivity of those two very important roles to provide the trusted voice of the chemical sciences. In terms of our reach and our activities, we have been around for the last 178 years. And in fact, we started as the Chemical Society in London. And then back in 1980, we became the Royal Society of Chemistry after we joined together with a number of other scientific bodies in the UK. We've now established a truly global reach, and we have offices in the UK, in China, in Japan, in India, as you may be aware, in Germany, and also in the US. We support 50,000 members worldwide, both in terms of their professional studies, but also those of you who are already in the workplace. We support over 2,500 companies of all sizes, and currently in the UK, we have a particular programme focused on small and medium-sized enterprises. And at this point in time, when COVID is impacting all of the lives of all of those we work with, we know we have to continue to support all of the scientific endeavour, but importantly, support those individuals who work in some of the smaller organisations. We invest probably annually about 1.7 million in skills for industry to make sure we have a strong industrial workforce. We also invest over £1 million in initiatives to enable innovation and skills. Again, innovation is a cornerstone of all science, and in particular the chemical sciences. You may be aware that the Royal Society of Chemistry is also a highly regarded global science publisher, and we publish over 35,000 articles every year in our peer-reviewed journals. We've also, in recent years, made an extensive investment in chemistry education, and this has been possible because of the very kind funding by Yusuf Hamid, which has enabled us to train 23,000 teachers in India. And this is a program of work that the RSC collectively feels very proud of, but also has very much established our opportunity to build connections and to support the community in India. So we show leadership in many different ways, not just as individuals, but as an organisation. And one of the areas of the RSC's work that I'm particularly proud of is our work to support policy and advocacy on behalf of science. So we are vocal advocates for the chemical sciences, policy, and also decision making. And we have three key strands of our work running at the moment. These are three key pillars of the work that we do. First of all is about supporting talent. So that is about developing and enabling chemists and the chemical community to develop their chemistry knowledge, but also to facilitate international mobility for chemistry talent, because we know that chemistry and chemical science is about collaboration, and it doesn't happen in one part of the world. It doesn't happen in one region. We need to be continually moving around. Obviously, that's impacted at the moment, but the ambition is still there to ensure that there's mobility of talent. And whether we do that physically or virtually, the end result is still just as important. It's also about promoting diversity in the chemical sciences, and I'll keep coming back to the theme of diversity. It is such an important part, certainly of my leadership, but also the leadership that we show on behalf of the community. Secondly, discovery, and that's about influencing policy and funding environment to enable chemical sciences to flourish in terms of our research base, and also to generate knowledge and enable knowledge transfer. And again, that's not restricted by region or one particular part of the world. That truly is global as well. Of course, we have more impact where we can work closely with government, and in particularly in the UK at the moment, you'll be aware that our exit from the European Union has raised a number of concerns for scientists in the UK, and we seek to help support and enable that funding to continue post-Brexit. And thirdly, sustainability. Sustainability is absolutely, one of our global challenges. Chemistry has a role to play in every aspect of sustainability, whether that be around policy on waste, on chemicals regulation, but even on the economy itself. And we want to make sure that all the decisions and all the discussion about sustainability is informed by good science, and it's informed by the chemical sciences themselves. One of the pieces of work that we've led on very recently, again in response to the COVID crisis, is to highlight all of the areas where chemistry is helping to support the medics, those who are involved in producing PPE to protect us all during COVID, but most importantly, investment and research and development in looking for a vaccination. So all of the treatments, all of the medical interventions, and all of the research is all underpinned by chemistry, and we really want to highlight that as an important area where chemistry itself is showing a leadership role. So I'm now going to take you through a little bit of my own background and how I ended up doing the role that I do today. And in fact, I have to say from the very outset, it's a role that I love. I love the fact that I work in chemistry. I love the fact that I work with chemists, and I love the fact that I'm part of a community that really can make an impact. But I was very much inspired to study chemistry whilst I was still at school. And that's where both my interest in leadership and also chemistry started. And I think it's at that very early age that I recognised there was a real connection between these two important roles. But first and foremost, I had a very strong role model when I was at school. My chemistry teacher, Dr. Sheila Cousins, she was one of the first women to actually gain a PhD in the UK back in the 1950s. And to me, that was so important because Dr. Cousins enabled me to develop a very strong work ethic, to develop confidence, to develop a belief in myself, and also to set a very high aspiration for what I wanted to achieve in the longer term. And I have to say that aspiration and that drive has never left me since I finished at my school. I then went on to the University of Exeter in the UK. And again, there was a continuation there about leadership and chemistry being a very strong enabler for careers. And there I had another very strong role model, and that was in Professor Eddie Abel. Ed then became president of the Royal Society of Chemistry shortly after I graduated from university. And it was at that point I joined the Royal Society of Chemistry in my first role in employment. But before that, obviously, I had done my research. So I was an organic metallic chemist, and that's where I studied my PhD. And during my research, I very much learned all those important elements that I've taken forward in my career. So my research was important to me. And here you can see some examples of the papers that I published. I think most of them were with the Royal Society of Chemistry at the time. I was looking at some complexes of topyridine and also some ferrocinophanes. I looked at some fluxional and variable temperature NMR, and I was very proud to say that I discovered a mechanism called the TikTok mechanism, and I'd urge any of you to go and Google that now and see if you can find out what I discovered during my research. But the research I did for my PhD, whilst I haven't continued that in my day-to-day work, it certainly has given me the foundations of what I use today. So the ability to do research, my knowledge of publishing, my ability to work collaboratively in teams, my ability to engage through international conferences, and also my knowledge of our community. So I'm joining the RSC back in 1993. I was already a student member. I'd already joined as a member of the organisation, but I then became what was called the Younger Chemist Liaison Officer. And throughout my career, and you can just see a number of job titles that I've held, I've pretty much worked my way through the organisation. And the one thing I would say to encourage any of you who are considering a role in leadership, whether that's within the science and actually engaged in research, or whether it's using your research and your science background to inform a more global career based around business and other opportunities, is look for opportunities, take on new roles, and also support others. And that is a very important part of developing as a leader. I think, as I said in the introduction, I have led many of the RSC strategic functions. I've overseen marketing, communications, community engagement, websites, technology, human resources, finance, and also looking after some of our international colleagues as well. And all of this has given me a great foundation for my career in leadership. And one of the things I just wanted to highlight is you'll see a couple of pictures here. One of Burlington House, which is our beautiful building in London, unfortunately currently closed. We don't have access to it, but we very much hope to return there soon. But also a picture of our library in Burlington House. And I was very proud to have led a project about 10 years ago, a £2.3 million funded project to refurbish our library to enable it to become a venue and a real meeting place for chemical scientists to disseminate knowledge, disseminate the work that they do. So very much true to the origins of the organisation, but in a truly inspiring environment. And I would welcome any of you on the call to be able to come and visit us in London and visit our beautiful library. So leadership, and what inspires me about leadership, is both the people, but also the strategy element. It is about making a difference and having an impact and having a lasting impact. So thinking about the work that I do every day and about how I can connect through people to ensure the work of the Royal Society of Chemistry is having an impact for our community. It's about having role models. It's about working with our community. The science of chemistry has always fascinated me, the curiosity of the science, and that has never left me. And that's why I'm proud to say that I continue to be a chartered chemist and to ensure that I keep up my knowledge around chemistry throughout all the work that I do. I mentioned about people as an important strand of leadership. The way that we develop leadership as a person is to have shared values. And these are the values of the Royal Society of Chemistry that each member of our teams, whether it's member of staff or our volunteers or our members, we should all aspire to be professional in the work that we do, dedicated to our subject and the work that we deliver through our colleagues, enabling to support others in the work that they do, and also to be respectful of others' skills, ambitions, differences, and also technical experience. And these four values, I think, set us in a very good place to be able to achieve much of the work that we do. The second part of leadership is about strategy. And to inform strategy, we have to think very much not just in the here and now, but also in the long term. We have to understand the purpose that we're striking to achieve or to deliver, and we have to think big picture, we have to think globally, and we have to think about the long-term view of whatever it is we're seeking to achieve. This leads me on to talk a little bit about some of the work that the Royal Society of Chemistry has done and some work I have been involved in during my career to ensure that we have a real future vision for the chemical sciences. So this was a piece of work, The Future of the Chemical Sciences, was a report and a study that we launched back in 2015. And the aim of this was to look at how chemical sciences might change over the next 10, 20 years. And we did some scenario planning to create some plausible scenarios for the future of the chemical sciences. And of course, what we've all witnessed in the last few months is the acceleration towards some of the findings that we identified through this report. And you'll see in the 7 themes and trends that I identify on the slide that these were the very elements that we looked at. So we can look at the role of the chemical sciences becoming ever more important, albeit the fact that there is certainly interdisciplinarity that we as chemical scientists need to be very aware of in all the work that we do. We don't get there just because the work that one individual or one particular part of science does. We do it because there is a collaborative effort. We also looked at the future demand on chemical science, and of course we've seen that accelerated through the need for chemical sciences input to developing new pharmaceutical products or new vaccines. We've also identified some of the funding structures and the way institutions might be set up to deliver chemical science. And again, there's been an acceleration around that because of the impact on economic funding. Technology has played an ever-increasing role in the work that we have done in the last 5 years and will almost certainly continue to do so over the next 20, 30 years. And how that evolves and develops and accelerates, I think we're all beginning to understand that more fully now. The move to open data, open science, open access is a fundamental part of all of our lives, as is globalization and also the impact on our social trends. Now, this work on the future of the chemical sciences has very much enabled us as the Royal Society of Chemistry to be thinking about our future, to be proactive in our own strategy, but also to develop a long-term strategy on behalf of our community. So in terms of what we have learned from that piece of work, we have learned that chemistry is ever more global, interdisciplinary and collaborative, and that's very important. And I don't think I would be on a call like this if that weren't the case. Chemistry also needs to tell the success stories even better. We need to have a strong narrative around the role of chemistry, and that's to ensure that the public really understands the value of chemistry. And if the public understand the value of chemistry and the need for chemistry and the importance of it, that really helps us when we are advocating for policy, but also for funding to support chemistry and also to support the development of new courses and new training opportunities. Chemists will need to work more closely with other disciplines, as we know, and also other industries to be successful. Again, everything comes back to collaboration and interdisciplinarity. And chemistry needs leadership, and that's developing a positive brand for chemistry, but also to ensure there's a very strong voice for chemistry, and that's all about advocacy and input to policy. And chemistry needs diversity. And again, I'll keep coming back to this and share with you a few examples of the inclusion diversity work that the RSC is involved in. And of course, this does help to inform the RSC strategy. The second piece of work, again, under the theme of leadership for science, is a piece of work we've recently completed called Science Horizons. And all of these reports and all of the work and all of the interviews and other media compilations that we have produced recently to inform people of this work is all available online. So through Science Horizons, we engaged with over 750 leading researchers around the world. And again, this was looking at the role that science plays in our future. We looked at global R&D and how it is focused on sustainable prosperity. We know that the United Nations research goals in terms of global challenges requires us to have a sustainable future. We identified that there were 3 areas of advances in terms of research, and that was looking at solutions to global and industrial challenges, looking at some of the big questions that we as a society need to answer, and also looking at some of those frontier techniques. What are the up-and-coming techniques that we are needing to use, whether that be AI or other technology-driven applications to enable us to better do our research and development. And through all of this, one of the outcomes is to identify the key enablers, and this is where I really wanted to kind of focus. Again, the key enablers for research and development and science into the future is about remaining curious. So for us all as individuals and as a society to have a curiosity about science, to want to continue to explore, to research and to develop. Collaboration, again, to continue to want to work together and enable that international mobility, to enable all of the good work to continue, but also the sharing of ideas and the sharing of thoughts. And we do that through publishing, we do that through meetings, conferences and events. And also leadership. So again, it comes back to leadership being a very key enabler for everything we do, both as an individual, and it is about taking ownership for your own leadership journey, but also as an organisation and the role that we play in influencing our organisations to be leaders in our own field. So on that thought, so yes, curiosity, collaboration and leadership being the key enablers. And it says here 3 key enablers that require action to ensure science contributes to its fullest potential. I would just emphasise to you that you can replace science with scientists. I think we can all see these as 3 key enablers that enables us as scientists to achieve our fullest potential. And the final piece of research work I just wanted to highlight, again, this is all part of a theme building on the future of the chemical sciences, moving through Science Horizons, and now on to the piece of work that we launched in only the last couple of weeks. And this is our digital futures work. This resulted in some very forward thinking on behalf of colleagues in our community to come together with a number of individuals in London last year to think about what science exploration and innovation meant in terms of the digital world, how digitization was going to help us, but also some of the challenges and opportunities we were presented to us as a result of technology. And our Digital Futures 5-point plan that we have created as a result of this work that we have done looks to secure targeted investment in skills, training and infrastructure to fast-track digital scientific discovery, both in terms of research, but also very importantly in terms of innovation. Secondly, again, to enhance international collaboration across all scientific disciplines, and that also looks at spanning industry and academia. So where are the opportunities for individuals, but also as organisations come together with academia and industry? To be able to attract the top digital talent into scientific research. So whether that's individuals who are currently working in science or studying science, who acquire new digital skills and talent, or whether it's those who have started their career or their research work in digital and actually want to apply that in the scientific world. All of this is absolutely fundamental and needed for our future. We also want to support and enable data standards and ethical international data sharing. As we become more digitally focused and more digitally enabled, the whole question about ethics and how we use our science and how we ensure that human interface is still a key decision maker within all that we do is going to require us to work together and really set those standards. And finally, to develop recommendations for integration of digital skills, both into schools, so as we are the next generation of chemical scientists and scientists come through the schools, their school career, but also for those in higher education. So digital is our future, it's our here, it's our now, and we need to make sure that is embedded in everything that we do and all of our considerations. So that gives you some understanding of some of the leadership roles that we take as an organisation, that I think apply to many of the organisations we work with in science, but how elements of that also apply to your own personal leadership journey, and actually very much apply to my own personal leadership story. And I use each and every one of these pieces of work to help me, to inform me in taking decisions every day with my leadership team, but also supporting the staff that I work very closely with. And one of those teams that I work very closely with is our team in China. And I'm only picking China at the moment because I happen to have led RSC China for a number of years, from the start of kind of really building up our operations there right through until last year. So we have a team in China, and this was just to share some of my personal reflections on working with some of our international teams. And you can see a number of photographs there with me, with the team, in terms of both work, but obviously also some kind of pleasurable activity in being in Beijing. So both within the RSC, but also outside of the RSC, I have a number of roles to play, which are based around leadership. So as highlighted in the introduction, I'm also chair of the Science Council. And this enables me to take my leadership beyond chemistry and chemical science into the wider science community, certainly within the UK. So the Science Council is an umbrella body for many other disciplines across science. All of the members of the Science Council that are themselves professional bodies, membership organisations. And if you look closely at the slide, you can see biology, you can see physics, you can see engineering, you can see the water industry, you can see environmental organisations. And these are all very important that we work together. And the Science Council enables us to ensure that collectively as a science profession, that we can set standards within the scientific community, that we can bring members together to enable networking, but also speak up for the profession and promote science. And there are occasions when we want to show true leadership, that we're not going to be listened to if we speak as a single lone voice. So even for the chemical sciences, there are some occasions when we need to speak on behalf of science, and working together and showing leadership across the community is a very effective way of doing that. And that's what I seek to do through my role as the chair of the Science Council. Alongside working with the Science Council, I also chair another group which is connected to the Science Council, but also to the RSC, which is a technicians' commitment. And we know that for the future of the chemical sciences, for the work that we do in industry, that we need a very strong workforce. And one of the really underpinning roles that enable us all to do research and development, enable us all to apply the work that we do in science, is the technical communities, the technicians, the individuals who help run the labs, who help ensure that we can publish papers, who help ensure that our teams are supported. And the technician commitment, again, is working within the UK to ensure that through the higher education institutes, there is a real commitment to individuals in those roles. And this has 5 key reasons. One, to increase the visibility of technicians, to make sure that their contribution is recognised and identifiable, to recognise the technicians so that they can gain professional recognition through registration and through membership of their own professions. Thirdly, career development, which enables technicians to actually progress through career structures, and that gives them clear pathways and clear opportunities to aspire to very senior and significant roles, whether that be in education or industry. Fourth is to ensure sustainability, because we need a pipeline of many thousands of technicians to help support us, and that's in the UK alone. Worldwide, it'll be many millions of technicians in science that we required over the coming years, and the technicians' commitment is about supporting the sustainability of those roles. And finally, about impact, to make sure that where there is investment, and both in terms of financial investment through funding, but also through time and expertise, that the impact is clearly felt within the community and the science that it's there to support. So again, those are just examples of other roles that I play in terms of leadership, but I'm always conscious that I'm very much just playing my part alongside many other teams who I work with. And I would call out my colleagues on the technicians' commitment, at the Science Council, but most importantly at the Royal Society of Chemistry, my colleagues on the leadership team, my colleagues in all our international offices, who I work closely with to ensure that leadership is embedded and is the way that we can carry out our strategy and take the most important decisions that we need to. So one of those kind of key areas of strategy and also leadership, and again taking decisions, is looking at inclusion and diversity in science. I think we all recognise the need to have a diverse workforce. The fact that I mentioned at the beginning, that strengthens the science, it strengthens organisations, it strengthens business. And these are some of the reports that we have launched from the Royal Society of Chemistry in recent years, looking at the chemical sciences landscape, looking at the workplace, looking at publishing. And the couple I want to highlight is first and foremost Breaking the Barriers. Breaking the Barriers was launched back in November 2018, and this very much looked at the systemic issues around the barriers to women's progression within the chemical sciences. It was highlighted that the number of women who are entering the higher professorial levels in academic research was much lower than that of their male counterparts. And we just wanted to understand that a little bit more fully, about the support that we might be able to put in place to enable some of those barriers to be broken. We had to be brave and we had to be bold with this campaign to enable the impact, but I'm very pleased that as a result of it, we have put in some very clear pieces of work, some support, some funding, and also a helpline or a support line to enable individuals to actually share their own personal experience, but to receive some support in how they can move forward in their careers. And in fact, seeking gender parity isn't just an issue for women, it's an issue for all genders, because it is important that we have that diversity. The second piece of research that we were very heavily engaged in over the last 2 years is a report that looked to answer the question, is publishing in the chemical sciences gender biased? And through this report, we have developed some tools and some frameworks that will enable us to make a difference. And again, that's another example of how we as a community can show leadership. We can increase transparency in the way that we as personally as an organisation publish and do our peer review and do all of the other aspects of publishing. We can make sure that those papers that are published by us reflect our full research community, so very much across all of the different aspects of inclusion and diversity, but also to enable both empowerment and innovation within the community, and also to encourage intervention where it is needed. And I'm very pleased to say, on the back of this report that we launched very recently, we have been able to sign up to some co-authored statements across our global partners, our global science publishing community, to enable this to be a truly global endeavour. And I think for the chemical sciences, that strengthens us as a community, and will certainly strengthen us in terms of the leadership roles that we play. So just before I invite any questions and the opportunity kind of to talk to you further, I'm just going to share my final slide. So this was taken, these two photographs were taken back in March to celebrate International Women's Day. I've been passionate about supporting women in chemistry and my own personal journey, but also those of those individuals around me. International Women's Day, the theme was Each for Equal, and back at the beginning of March, this was, I think, was the last engagement I held before the UK went into lockdown in mid-March. And this was in Burlington House in our beautiful library, and here I am on the stage with Dame Carol Robertson sitting in the middle, and Carol and I were answering questions from Susie Kundra, who was posing questions about our careers, asking us about what inspired us, what motivated us, what barriers and what challenges did we face through our careers. And we were very open and able to share. And again, I think some of the videos of that are actually available on our website. Because the theme was about each for equal, and that was about what can we each do to help support a more equality in our community. So on the right hand photograph, this is me pointing to a pledge that I made, and the pledge, you can see what I wrote, it's at the bottom. I pledge that I will listen, I will learn from others, and I will share my experiences. So very much me being here today, sharing my experiences with you, is part of my pledge to ensure that we create more equality within leadership, within the chemical sciences, that everybody sees that they can play as an individual, but also hopefully to motivate you in terms of your kind of future aspirations for your career, how you can get involved within the community, the fact that you may choose not to follow a lab-based career, but you can absolutely still use your chemistry, your background, your scientific training, whatever your experiences in your early career, to actually inform and enhance and inspire others, and enable you to aspire to take on roles that put you in a position. And I have to say, I'm very proud to be in the position I am now, to actually lead on behalf of a community that you're so passionate about. So thank you very much for giving me this opportunity. So I'm very happy to follow up with any questions and also to engage with any of you kind of following this presentation. So thank you, and thank you for the invitation. Thank you to my hosts, and also thank you to the team at the Royal Society of Chemistry who are based in our India office for enabling me to be part of today's activity. So thank you.
Thank you, Helen. Wonderful talk. If you can just stop sharing the screen and we can have you full screen. Wonderful. So I thought I'd just share for your delight. These are two books, Royal Society of Chemistry. So I've just done 4 books in the past 9 years as part of the Issues of Toxicology, where I'm the editors who also commission books. And the 5th one we are doing currently now, the 4 of us, 2 from UK, 1 from the US, and myself on COVID-19. So it's been a fantastic journey with the Royal Society, Royal Society of Chemistry, and I must say that they've been very helpful in India as well.
Oh, very good to hear. Very good to hear. Thank you.
So I think you gave a wonderful talk, and I think, as always, I think the director of NEAST has a couple of students who sort of run through the questions that have been asked on the digital platform, and they sort of pose those questions to you, and then you can answer them as many as you can. So, yeah, Shastri, over to you.
Yeah. Before I can ask Monty, who is ready with the questions, lots of questions probably. And Rajesh, would you like to say something couple of words?
No, just thank you for giving an opportunity to partner with this wonderful program. I think it's been very successful, and I think I would rather stick to a lot of questions. I think I've seen a lot of questions from the students. I think it would be much better time rather than me saying anything else. Thank you, Dr. Shastri.
I could see Aparna Ganguly also. Nice to see you. So you promised that you will come to Jorhat, and maybe after the COVID is over, you should try to come and then do some program. Okay, now Monty, you can go ahead and then conduct the question answer session.
Thank you, sir. On behalf of our director and the entire SRTP team, we thank you, ma'am, for your such a delightful, insightful presentation. It was indeed a great pleasure for all of us to hear from you, ma'am. We could not agree more on how nicely you have presented throughout. And no wonder, ma'am, all the live platforms are filled with appreciation remarks, and there are a lot of questions. With your permission, I would like to go forward with the question answer session. But before that, I would like to say you, ma'am, that we have prepared a slide on the basis of your presentation, ma'am. So if you would permit, then we would upload the slide, ma'am.
That's fine, yes.
So they have been practicing and they came up fastest in your lecture. Before your lecture ends, they came up with these slides summarizing your talk. You're uploading it?
Yes, sir. Biswajit Saha, sir, will be uploading it from a different desktop, sir.
You can start the question.
Sure, sir. We'll begin the question answer session.
Okay.
Oh, very good.
Okay,
thank you, ma'am. Okay, sir. We'll start the question answer session. Ma'am, how can we develop leadership communication for people with shyness and fear to approach others? So this is a question from the YouTube platform.
I'm sorry, could you just repeat the question?
The question is, how can we develop leadership and communication skills for people with shyness and fear to approach others?
I understand. So I think this is a very common question that we look at. So there is the whole concept of whether you may be extrovert or introvert. I think there is a lot of opportunity to think about looking for the opportunities where you can do communication. So taking the opportunity to speak at events and conferences. I personally, was, I think, shy when I was a student. And what I found very helpful to me in making presentations was to do poster sessions. So the opportunity to actually speak to people one-on-one, and that develops your confidence and your ability to speak about your work. And having done that, I think it then makes it easier when then you talk to kind of larger groups. I think I would say never assume that you can't do it. What you do have to do is be a little bit brave and actually just try different things and to see what works for you. But also by enabling, joining networks and joining discussion groups, again, is a very good way of practicing asking those questions if you are a little bit shy or a bit hesitant about doing so.
Thank you, ma'am. The next question is from Mohia. How can we acquire leadership quality from a very young age itself?
So again, I would say take opportunities that are around you. And I think in most cases, whether if you are still at school or if you're at university, volunteering to be part of organising events or activities. It doesn't necessarily have to be science related. It could be anything that you choose to do, even in your kind of personal, your kind of leisure time. I developed my passion for leadership, and I don't think I knew it was leadership at the time. When I was at school, I enjoyed organising things. I enjoyed been able to help others. And it was only later I realized that that probably was the start of my leadership career. So again, it's looking for the opportunities where you can show your talent and your expertise and the thing that you're really passionate about, show that to other people and get them engaged. I said that could be an event or an activity, and that is the start of truly developing a leadership quality.
Thank you so much, ma'am. The next question is from Nikita. What are the opportunities available for Indian students wanting to pursue PhD or postdoc in RSC?
Okay, so we don't. What I would encourage is that if you want to pursue a PhD, or you are looking for pursuing a PhD in the UK, so the RSC itself doesn't have PhD students or postdocs, but what we can do is support you in finding all the different opportunities that there are through the UK universities, or it may be international universities. So I would suggest that if individuals have a desire to do that, then they can get in touch with us directly, and we have some resources that we can make available online to help point you in the right direction.
Thank you, ma'am. The next question is from Namrata Tiwari. What are the possibility of making science easy for normal person to be assessed? Also, how the collaboration between the students in scientific research can be increased?
Okay, so how to make science easier I guess, is that maybe the question is about how do you enable science students to better understand the breadth of science as opposed to the very specific, maybe kind of the deeper kind of understanding. Again, I think through university courses and research kind of work, I think there is more of a move towards enabling individuals to better understand the full breadth of science. And I would say look for resources online, look for opportunities to read around your subject. I would say that publications, so we publish Chemistry World. Chemistry World is a great way of finding out about the chemical sciences, but at a level where it doesn't require a deep understanding or knowledge, but actually kind of articulates the chemistry in a way that the kind of more general public audience could actually follow and understand.
Thank you, ma'am. Can we proceed with the question answer session for a little more time, ma'am, if you would permit us? Because there are a lot of questions, ma'am. Thank you so much, ma'am. So the next question is from Aditya Sharma. Can you tell the most important research works that are rising globally for sustainable development in which postgraduate students can contribute?
Oh gosh, I should ask your full audience that question. I think there's a lot of research that is kind of happening now, which is going to be very important for sustainable development, whether that's around food security, whether that's around energy, whether that's around water purification. I don't think and also obviously antimicrobial resistance is a very important area that many scientists are currently studying, possibly slightly overtaken at the moment by the need to study kind of antiviral medicines as well. So I would say that there's probably a number of very important areas that graduate students can study. Again, I think that's about looking at kind of what's available out there through the research and the literature.
Thank you, ma'am. The next question is from Parvati. How can we empower women in this field? Also, would you share your experience becoming a leader in the scientific front, ma'am?
Okay, so I think as I spoke through my presentation, I had a very strong desire, I had a very strong aspiration, and that was about leadership. And that was an aspiration to kind of fulfill the potential that I felt I had. And that was driven by my teacher and the fact that I was taught from a very early age to have kind of self-belief. So I would say that to develop leadership, it's about having, first and foremost, belief in yourself, taking opportunities as they arrive, but seek opportunities. Don't be afraid to ask. It doesn't matter which gender you are. and take ownership, because I think people can achieve what they set out to do. They have to be prepared to learn from when things go wrong. And I'm a great believer in if you have things that don't go well for you, that you learn from that, and that's all part of your learning experience. So I too, through my career, will have things that haven't gone as well, or things where I may have failed at something, but I've used that as a way to kind of motivate myself. So for leadership, look for opportunities, take opportunities that arise, but seek them as well. Supporting others is also very key. And also have that self-belief and take ownership.
Thank you, ma'am. So we'll take up the last question, ma'am. What changes should we adopt to polish our leadership quality, and how to train our mind scientifically to be a good researcher?
So the first part of that question, I'll go back to the pledge I made for International Women's Day. And I've learned this through the last 6 months of leading kind of the RSC through a difficult, challenging time. It's about listening and learning from others. The solutions and the answers in terms of leadership often sit with your teams, they often sit with your staff and the community that you work with. And it is about being able and prepared to listen and learn from others, rather than assuming that you have to have all the answers all of the time, because no one has. It is about teamwork. I think the second part of that question was about how to be a better researcher. I think I would say the same. It's about knowing that no individual can have all the answers. You have to seek them from others, but you have to listen to others. And I would say have conversations. Have conversations. Where do you see people who you aspire to be like, or individuals that you might see doing some phenomenal piece of research? Talk to them, understand how they do it, because I'm almost certain that they too will want to learn from you as well.
Thank you, ma'am. So, ma'am, there are a lot of questions. We will be compiling all the questions and we'll be preparing a thank you note for you, ma'am, and we'll be sending it to you, ma'am. It was indeed a great honor for us to hear from you. And in the all the live platform has been filled with appreciation comments. Everyone is like delighted and they are like quite inspired by your talk, ma'am. And now I would request Director Sir to say a few words. Over to you, sir.
Auntie, with your permission, I will ask one question which is there. That Srishti Patil has asked, according to you, what women lack in the field of science during the journey to the leadership?
What do women lack in their journey to leadership?
That's a question by Srishti. My question.
I would say that women lack nothing in their journey to leadership. I think they have very strong attributes that any woman or an individual can bring to leadership. It's about having the confidence to do that. And it's about having the opportunity to do it. I would say there is nothing lacking at all.
This is, in this year in India, we have adapted Women in Science as the theme for our Science Day. And I feel that Srishti and many other young people lack nothing. And actually, they have a lot of good leadership qualities.
Yeah.
The thing is, they will have to go with the confidence and try to be a leader early. That's very important. And I'm really very happy for bringing out nice things about leadership and how to take it up early and at different times of one's career. And on behalf of all of them, Helen Payne has done extremely good job in motivating everybody, not only women but also a lot of men. And now I request my colleague Arup Roy
that you performed during your PhD to joining RSC as a student representative to become a CEO is really motivating and inspiring. I believe that all the participants were inspired by your talk. I, on behalf of the whole team, thank you once again for sparing your time and ignite the young minds. Maybe some of them will become leaders in future. I also thank Mr. Rajesh and Mr. Ajit from RSC for organizing this session and helping us throughout. I would like to take this opportunity to thank Dr. G.N. Shastri, Director CSIR East, and Dr. Alok Dhawan, Director IITR, for their mentorship and guidance. I sincerely acknowledge the whole SRTP team for successfully conducting the session. Thank you all for your participation. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for enabling me to take part today. It's been a great pleasure, and I'll very much enjoy kind of following up with any further questions.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.